inspirations, spotlighting gospel sensation. Motivation and inspiration for your eternal destination. Let's talk about it. It's the Larry W. Robinson Show.
Stay tuned for the Larry W. Robinson Show.
Celebrated media personality Larry W. Robinson presents Gospel Updates. Gospel Updates is the who, what, when, why, and where in the gospel music industry. Gospel Updates is a monthly magazine, weekly newsletter, video webcast, as well as a podcast. Gospel Updates has over 25 years of featuring people in the gospel music community. Gospel Updates magazine and the new Gospel Updates weekly newsletter documents those who are continuing to help shape and write new chapters of this ever-evolving story of gospel. Go to www.gospelupdates.com. That's www.gospelupdates.com to get the latest issues. If you want to be featured, call or text 337-214-4046 or email gospelupdates@gmail.com for rates and details. Gospel Updates, featuring people in the gospel community for over 25 years.
You're listening to the Larry W. Robinson Show.
Today on the Larry W. Robinson Show, we're getting ready to have the ConverDERNsation with the architect of ConverDERNsations. But we welcome a man who not just is disrupting conversations, he's redefining platforms, profits, and even purpose. He's a multimedia mogul, a comedic commentator, a recording artist, a prophetic voice that can pivot from sacred insight to viral influence with one breath. Whether he's navigating these internet streets or international strategy sessions, he shows up as one who sees clearly, deeply, and unapologetically. He's the founder of the MBN Network, the force behind LDR Enterprises, and the spiritual architect of Reformation Church of Atlanta. He's earned recognition on the gospel stage, but make no mistake, his voice now echoes in boardrooms, prayer rooms, and everywhere in between. Some know him as the Reids, others for the Reach. But if you've ever really listened, you know that there's divine intelligence behind every moment he shares. So let's get ready to have the ConverDERNsation that's going to stretch your thinking, stir your spirit, and spark a strategy within you. He is the insight with a mic, revelation with rhythm. He is the one and only Larry D. Reid.
Wow. I must say that introduction, there's nowhere online about me. I want every word that you said so that I can read it. That went right into my heart.
Bless you, sir. Bless you.
I was blessed by my own introduction. I feel like I've been ministered to and seen.
You are. Well, let me say this. Of course, you know, I have known you for quite some time. And you have done something that many people have been trying to do. And you did it unapologetically. I do want to talk about how I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you may have different, I'll just say it this way, a different awakening in consciousness. Because I read something that you did recently and I was like, aha, I think there's a shift. We'll say a shift in consciousness coming. But first, let's start from the beginning, sir, because we were supposed to have this ConverDERNsation probably about a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. I apologize.
No, you good. Listen, life has been life. And life has been life. So let's start from the beginning. I met you is it Can't Take My Joy Away? What was the single that we were
Can't take God from me.
Can't Take God From Me? When was that? It just seemed like it was just yesterday, but it's probably what been.
That was 2014. Yep.
Wow, that's more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so, but you have been doing, when did you officially start doing commentating? I know at the time you were with a group of people, and then of course you branched out on your own, but tell me about that, and then we'll get into where we're going.
Well, I started talking online many years ago about whatever was happening in our world and even doing jokes way back as far as 2000 and what?
Were you doing it during the Periscope days?
Before that. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Larry Live was birthed out of Periscope, was social cam, Periscope, then went to Facebook.
Social cam, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I first started talking online, I want to say in 2003. I've been talking online for a long time. When we was on MySpace and we was on the message boards, I was already creating the conversation. So that's when it first started. But then it picked up before I moved to Atlanta in 2015. And then I kept talking because I had got used to talking to Social Cam, and Periscope came about. I covered the Leandria thing because she was online with Patron. And I said, no, we're not going to kill her. I said, this is what I see. And I began to explain. She reached out to me and we connected then in 2015, that was. So we officially started Larry Reid Live in 2016, officially. But I was already online doing the work.
That's good. All right. So many people, Larry, they see what you do, and many people try to copy what you do. And but let's just get it from the horse's mouth before we there's a specific question I'm trying to get to, but before we get there, what was your initial intention for those conversations that you were having back then?
Well, my initial intention in my first show, well, I took all of that down now, it was all about going beyond the four walls of the church and going into our professions as apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, and teachers, but going into the different worlds of influence and being an example of Christ, and seeing the local church as somewhere that you start, you graduate from, and then you go into the world and you minister. Staying connected to the church cyberly through the internet. That's right. That is the conversation we started. And at the same time, we told the church that you have got to build your ministries online by the year 2020. And this was in 2015. So from the beginning all the way up until now, it's about the church, the whole Black community, the entire world, having conversations that they need to have, but particularly having conversations that grow us beyond the pew.
So I think even then, because I felt that exactly how you said it, but I think, and if I'm wrong, help me with it, but I think there's even was a shift from that to something else. And I think probably we're getting back to what that initial intention was.
You are exactly right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that shift, because I think we, at least I don't know if I just had it in my mind with you, but I could have sworn I said, Larry, I don't think this way that we're going is the more excellent way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say this, and this is not creating a cushion for myself, but okay. I had never seen nobody do what I was doing, so I didn't have anybody to listen to except for Father God. And when I would listen to him, because he always was speaking, then I will always end up doing what needs to be done. And so what began to happen, I began to see other people that was in my life that I wanted to bring them on the platform and just have a conversation. And so that was very good for entertainment, very good for industry, very good for, that online talk, laugh type of exchange, to be raw, ridiculous, but still informative and fun. But it went way to entertainment. And eventually in 2015, I began to take the reins on my own. And when I took the reins on my own, I was still in that entertainment. But by me being as I am, I'm inquisitive. I have a therapy degree along with other degrees, DM, MDIV, all different stuff. And I'm a book nerd, a little bit of, this is like my third set of books. Every time I get like over 1,000 books and I get rid of them, and I get a new 1,000 books, get rid of them. So this is my third 1,000 books, of reading, because I think they all mark different stages of my consciousness. And so when I was started getting into these conversations about whatever was online, I was picked. The main person I would pick from was Will McCrae. He was like the leading gospel voice. And then some other publications. I would just, whatever they discuss, I would discuss from my viewpoint. And what ended up happening because of, I think, the favor of God, when I would discuss it, those people in those stories would call me and want to talk to me. And then I would do interviews with them. So it turned out becoming became like an advocate for people that had been hurt in the church, done wrong in the church, or victimized. If they say it was a victim, I'd let them tell the story and I would parrot their story. And I won't never forget in 2019, somebody said, or either I said, I'm a voice for the victims. The Holy Ghost said, who told you that? It was so loud in my ear. And I said it again, like trying to override the voice. I said, I never told you that's what this platform was for. From that day to this one, I changed it. So I began to change the relationship I had with the different stories, and I started researching. And this is where that journalistic aspect came on, which really is one of the main pillars of the success of Larry Reid Live, because they know if Larry Live is saying it, then it's absolutely the truth, because I started researching stuff. And it made some enemies. I think also it made me be respected in a way that I can't even pay for somebody to make people respect me. So when I'm getting off the line, you got the biggest networks in the world calling me, wanting my verification because they don't have it. Then they do the story, that I still have that same respect. I mean, just the other day, I got off my live and I got a call from the New York Post and one from Washington Post. So it's still there, and I thank God for that. But when I began to move like that, that became like a thing that people began to respect me for. And then I began to realize how popular it was, because I couldn't go nowhere still to this day without somebody, Larry Reid Live. So at that point, I really began to be very wise with my stories. I said, look, these stories can be out already, but people are looking to see what I'm going to say. So I have to be careful. And that began to cause me to change the way I'd done everything by the end of 2019. Certain stories you won't even hear me do if I do the stories, because it's tied to a ConverDERNsation that we need to have absolutely that will help the community. And I think that is what began to cause me to make my way back to the origin, because the origin was just that, creating the conversation that we need to have in the Black community and in the church that we do not have, and to grow us beyond our regular four-wall church Christianity and going into something else. That's how we started, and that's what we're back at now.
So when did, and maybe, I don't know if you even sensed, felt like there was a energy that was, I don't want to say dark, but just a fearful type energy for people being, I don't want to use the word exposed, but for the lack of a better word, exposed on the Larry Reid show. Oh, and let me just say this, sir. Many people have mistaken me for you.
Really?
Oh my gosh! I was like, wait.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
I was like, I'm the good. I when I say gospel updates in my brain, and this has always been like this. I am the good news of the gospel.
Right.
So I get in trouble because I don't report on a lot of the stories that you guys report on. And it's intentional and on purpose. And here's why. I believe that those stories and those types of conversations, they carry energy. And then, of course, you attract what you talk about.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious. I just want to know, have you noticed that you attracted some things just because
Ah.
of the
Hey,
purpose of the conversation?
hey. Absolutely. You reap what the hell you sow. I mean, excuse me, this is a gospel platform, but y'all preach hells. It's in the Bible. So yeah, yes.
So that's why I was intentional about, because I guess what you just said, you said it just the way I said it. You really do reap what you sow. And
Even
so, and if
even
you
if
remember back in the day, I would have clickbait, but then when people go see the story, it was nothing negative. It was
right.
always good news.
But you reap what you sow, even if you don't intentionally and knowingly sow it. If that thing's still coming up. It's
Absolutely.
it's still coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but oh my God, it's a lesson I will never have to learn again. And I'm so glad I had the lesson. And I do think that was probably the top one of the top three ways for me to learn it. And I'm glad I'm glad I learned it, although I don't really like the way that I did. But I learned it and I'm very clear on it. And that is the reason why I do not do certain topics, because some stuff is just dirty. Like the Big Diddy case. Some of my friends, like Armand Wiggins, who was a colleague and a friend in commentary, every time he go live, there's 20 to 30,000 views. That is a wonderful check that he's going to be getting. But that's because he put himself in the Diddy trial. He's there every day reporting. He's in that energy. He comes home and do a live every day. I do not have the wherewithal to sit in these stories that are so sexually layered and psychologically abuse is happening in that. Whatever's happening in the story starts attaching itself to you. So I didn't know that.
Wait. Let's not gloss over that, because that was going to be one of my questions later today.
Okay.
Since you're here, have you noticed, or did you notice, or even did you even pay attention to that when you were doing those types of stories, even your body started manifesting different diseases? I'm not gonna say diseases, but diseases as you were telling those stories.
True. But I think your first question was, did you realize it was dark or whatever it is? Hell to the no. I'm going to tell you one of the main things that was blinding me: money. Money, and also the engagement and the likes and the praises of the people. Now, this is 2025 Larry Reid talking about 2018 Larry Reid. So I didn't have the same knowledge and experience. So back then I didn't even realize while I was in it that the comments, the likes, the engagement, the Google checks, I was counting every dime. All of that had me blinded to
Mm-hmm.
where I really wasn't paying attention outside and beyond this tunnel vision work thing that I was trying to get this thing off the ground. But that didn't matter. That wasn't my intention. Still had a reaper. Still had a reaper. Anybody that came to my house during those times know that my studio, while everybody saw that brick wall behind them, my feet was on my bed. I moved my bed out, put my logo around, and said I want to push this thing and make it a success to where it's causing more than $1 million, into my business every year. I birthed it and it did that, still doing that today, but there was a cost I had to pay for having that tunnel vision and really not pulling myself back those 2 years I'd done a live every day. Then pull myself back to look at what was happening outside of what I was saying and doing. But when I did, that's when I began to make the change. And do you know, Larry, I started going live in 2016. I took it over in 2018. I grew by 600% within a year. Those years, multiple millions of views. I am still, since 2019, trying to get people to see. It's a lot better than the last year and a half. Trying to get people to see what I do not do as opposed to what I do. And that's because my own success is my biggest enemy.
So in one sentence, what do you not do that you wish people knew?
Break stories.
And so elaborate, tell us what that means.
I
Because
only
it
do
appears that you do, but why don't you?
because
What's
it's
the
not,
distinction between how you do it?
I don't do that in my real life. I'm not gonna if I know somebody's secret, I'm not telling nobody, let alone bringing it to my show. And in that world of gossip commentary, not comedic commentary, and gossip commentary, that is all about giving you the gossip. It's not verified. It's whatever somebody hear, and I don't do that. I only do something. First of all, if you do gossip over here and I see the gossip, I'm not just going to repeat the gossip. I'm going to see if it's true. If it's not true, it's never going to make it to my show. I've been doing that from day one. But the problem is doing those stories that's connected to gossip, it put me in that same category. So I had to separate myself, choose different stories. Although I wanted to create some of the same conversations, I just had to go about it a different way. And I did it on today. Today, the whole situation going on with Brian Carn, I took that story to have a conversation about two words in the Bible that were mistranslated and misinterpreted: homosexual, and the other word is fornication. And I had that conversation. That was the conversation I wanted to have. And I just used the story to take me into it. So if I do have to touch some of these stories that are a bit, what I can say for lack of better words, though, is dirty or dark, I have a way to make it serve my purposes for my platform.
That's good. You know what, Larry? What advice would you give someone who want to be their authentic self? They have a gift for what we're doing, but they are maybe having the same pressures that you had to quote unquote be successful, make money, and yet still be who they believe God has called them to do. Can you be successful? Can you be prosperous being your authentic self without compromising the integrity of what you believe God has called you to do?
Absolutely. And that, I think, is a personal journey, though. I think for some of us, we have to find that. We can't just hear somebody like these two Larrys tell you that's not the way you want to prosper. Do it this way. There's another way. Some people have to find out on their own. I don't think I was that type of person that needed to find it out on his own, but I did. I did. That was the way that I learned it. I didn't even have a lens or word. None of my mentors in my life could have given me that advice, because I
But
was
you do know that nothing is wasted. It was all either a lesson or a blessing. So,
doing, and I think it's always both. It's a lesson and a blessing. Yeah.
it's a lesson and a blessing.
If it's a lesson, it's a blessing. If it's a blessing, it's a lesson.
Listen,
But the blessing comes on the wings of some method, some ways, some
got it.
predisposition. So that's a lesson. So if it's a blessing, it's a lesson. If it's a lesson, it's a blessing.
That's good. All right. So I think I was on your Instagram, and you made, and I'm probably gonna paraphrase it, but you gave permission, I believe, for anyone that you did a story on that they would like for you to retract or take down, that you would do it. What caused that decision? And have people taken you up on that decision?
Oh, Lord Jesus, Father Lamb, Lord, done took me from post 8 and no exhibit. I posted that. Why I post that? But I want to know who you are, But because you was a preacher and it was in the paper, I put it on my platform, So, yes, a lot of people took me up on that, and that was just me being more intentional in showing what my brand is and what it is not. It was a conversation that me and Willie Moore Jr. was having. I just done an interview with him. And I don't know if it was something that I said or he said, but in our conversation, I take down videos. Now, I had already been doing it, but it's like I needed an official place, a flyer, and start point for people to see me taking that down.
So now I'm
And
just curious, are these even some of your monetized videos that's on like
yeah,
these?
all my videos monetized.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
but I don't care. Let me
Okay.
tell you, when I made a decision to not do a certain type of commentary and everybody going back to work after the pandemic, because that was when my highest numbers were. So the end of 22, beginning of 23. I knew that if I just went back to the way I was doing my show, all them people coming right on back to me. They're gonna stay with me even post-pandemic. They're just gonna watch me in the evenings. So I moved my show to the evening times. I can still entertain them people. I had to make a conscious decision to not chase the money
Mhm.
and chase my own personal wellness and really get very clear on my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing ultimately with all of this. And that I chose that. I am not sorry for that choice. And I'm thankful for every struggle that I went through after that. Because right after that, I went into debt because the money went down. $1.2 million worth of debt the MBN network was in. And I'm happy to report that I did not compromise my relationship with my content and my platform to get the money. Although I went into debt, things happen the way that God always allows things to happen, cause things to happen, or watch things happen.
Can we say
and,
this? Not to, I don't want
and
to.
it got paid off.
Well, that's what I was going. But I do want to say because people will hear you say, "I went into debt," and they'll think God is punishing you. You were cursed. But can we have a conversation about how life just happens in seasons? You're gonna have some ups and you're gonna have some downs. You're gonna have some financial highs and some financial lows, but it's all a part of the process.
All a part of the process. And that's just how life is. And some things are the result of our decisions.
That too.
Mhm. Well, see, I didn't have, and thank God for all the mentors I've ever had, but I didn't have someone telling me, Larry, you're in that season. You need to put do this, don't do that, do this and do that. I didn't have that. So I just did whatever I thought I needed to do for everybody else, and lastly, including myself. Um, and in doing that, I ended up in that position. But I'm so glad in 2004 that that was paid off at the end of the year. It took me a year almost,
If
and
we would, look, if we were in a church service, the organ would be revving up right about now.
I'd be running.
Amen.
I, I'd be running. Uh, yeah, that was some hard work. You know, I had that same situation probably like a year prior to that reformation that we had, and budget was over the top, over $1 million. And I had to do that, and I was able to accomplish that in about 50 something days. I was able to pay it off. But I was on my back for like 2 months after that because all of the pressure my body had grabbed hold of, and I couldn't even walk. My back had like 6 or 7 knots that would just move up and down my back. But anyway, thank God that's over, and we ain't in that situation now.
And God is good.
Mhm.
Um, let's talk about this music. I was listening, which sparked this conversation today. I was listening to another artist, and
Uh-huh.
the beginning of the song
Uh-huh.
reminded me of your song.
Everybody keeps sending me that artist song.
And so from that song, I ended up turning your song
Because
on.
there was no other gospel artist who had ever taken that phrase and put a pen to it
I've
except
never
for Larry Reid. But now all of a sudden, just a year later, almost to the month and the day that my single came out, God Don't Play About Me. Now yours come out to my God Show Up or something. Let me not say that. You might be interviewing them.
right.
But I'm so glad to be a muse.
I love it. But let's talk about that. God Don't Play About Me. How did that song come about?
Literally, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna not call no names. There's somebody that I know needed something from me, and I don't give nobody nothing no more. It's gonna be an exchange. So what is it you can do I can pay you for? And they were able to produce music. Well, no, y'all gonna figure it out. But anyway, produced music and literally went over to the house to give them the thousands of dollars that they needed. And they said, well, I got this track I done a long time ago. And I sat down and there's even a video on IG with me listening to the music for the first time. I said it right there, sat right there and wrote it. Went, had the music mixed, mastered. Cause I just put music out now just for my community to just follow in because I love music. I just put it out. I said, well, make sure I go ahead and meta do all my meta tied to it, just in case, this go viral on TikTok or something. Drop that thing, and I mean, literally like a week later, dropped it, and it was on Radio One in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
And shot up to number 44 in like a matter of days on Billboard Gospel Break Radio. I said, now this ain't enough for me to get to 44. You know how many thousands of dollars I would have done paid some radio promoter? I said, what in the world is happening? So I knew then that this was something that the culture, not just the church, it resonated with them. And so I said, okay, that's doing like that, Larry. You need to do some music, but you need to do music where you're at and with what you're doing and not do music like your old gospel days. And I'm still a gospel boy. And so there's a project that my ministry is doing called Project Air. Project Africa is Rising. And we are hiring Ghanaians in Africa and paying them way above the scratch level to just help the economic situation that is there. And we started a business there. We're about to acquire some farmland. We're going to be growing food. We're on this 3 to 5 year thing with all this different stuff we're growing in Ghana. And we also have on our vision board for Project Africa is Rising to actually build some schools. So when I was over there handling some business, and that thing, Africa is Rising, that project had just really been on me, especially with the present climate in our country, with what disenfranchised people, including African Americans or American Africans, rather, that are here who are having to sit in this climate. I wanted to encourage melanated people. I wanted to encourage people to just know that they are rising, their strength, their ability to overcome, and their Blackness is rising. And so I've been doing a lot of talk about that. So I said, let me get some music and marry this to the Africa is Rising project. And while I was in Ghana, I met a producer. And he gave me all these tracks, and I picked out these tracks, paid him for it, make sure we done our paperwork. They ain't yours no more, they mine. And when I got here, one of the songs up there called Shine Up, I started writing in Africa. And everything else I wrote right here when I got back to America. And this project is your summer project. Every word on these songs is empowering, encouraging. Those of you that know that you're rare, you're fit, and you're not a fit nowhere. You're just a full misfit. Rare Breed is your song. Those of you that looked at the fires that was in California and everything that's happening in our world, and you're like, my God, this is horrible. And I'm really dealing with the loss of this luxury and that luxury. But I believe it's getting better for me. Better for me is your song. Though everybody's melanated, I got a song celebrating your melanin. I know you've heard Black Magic. I done that years ago. But there's a song on this track called Black Like That. There is a blackness that whiteness makes, and then there is the kind of black that I am. And so there is a song that called Black Like That. And then I have a different version of God Don't Play About Me on that CD, and Tasha Lockhart is with me. Tasha Page Lockhart is with me, and she kills it. And then I did another version of the second single I released prior to this project called Overcomer. Now, Overcomer, I actually flew to Africa a couple of months ago and shot a video. So that's going to be coming out probably within the next 3 weeks, sometime this month. And that's the second single that preceded the project, Africa is Rising. And so I'm very excited about this body of work, more excited about and proud of this body of work than anything I've ever done before, because it speaks the consciousness and the cadence that I'm in right now.
So I've been unapologetically pro-black for
Mm,
a long time, even before it was popular to be so, and have been criticized over the years because people want to make me Christian first and then black.
that's a
And
spirit.
I'm not gonna call her name up just because I don't want to even give her any platform, but there was a very popular female evangelist that said that in essence, you are a Christian first before you black. And I was like, I think I came out of the womb black first. But
Right.
I don't even want to get into that right now. But my question is, how important is it for melanated people to hear music and even messages that helps, and I say it this way, the king and the queen and them rise up to be who they are, to rule, reign, and take dominion in the earth?
First of all, I want to say that I am terribly glad that you are having this conversation as I sit right here about Black identity. It is extremely important for your Black identity to be in place before you ever hear anything about Christ, Christian, Islam, Buddhism, or any religion. You need to know yourself completely and entirely before you begin to embrace a religion. But what happened in the Black homes, and this is whiteness design. I remember our first churches were on plantations owned by white people, and the pastor of it was a white picked Black man that had partial of the Bible to program you and disappear your skin color. Your skin color was the way you were treated by them, but they wanted you to not see your skin color when it came to accountability that you needed to hold to them. And that is where we are right now. It's terribly important for you to be clear on your Black identity and the advantage that you have above all others because of the level of melanin that you have in you. The melanin that is in you is in all creation because you put it there. But the way that spirit will have it be is that there's a type of melanin that only those with Black skin have. It's called eumelanin. And that eumelanin has a relationship with the sun to where the sun literally gives technology into your being. Everybody else gets scorched by the sun, but you and the sun have a relationship where you absorb it and it actually seeps into your intelligence by way of your pineal gland, which in some origins believe is your spiritual eye. So you need to know all these things I'm saying and way much more before you even think about identifying yourself as a follower of Jesus Christ. You need to know you Black.
Well, well, I guess we know why, but let me just ask you directly, why do people want you to deny, forget, or all these other D's on the fact that you are of African descent, Black, melanin? I just, it baffles me that I can go to a church and they want you to deny that
Yeah.
you.
Because you complicate it. Your Blackness complicates capitalism and racism. It it is the reason why whiteness has to work so hard. You complicate it. So we need for you to disappear this thing that is so powerful that makes you the origination of man, that makes you the power that you are in the earth. We need for you to not see that. And so we got to whitewash you and cause you to see yourself as Christian first so that you don't mess around and recognize your power called Black, because that complicates all of this that we're trying to do with our white power. So we need you to not know you Black.
I went to an event not long ago at a church that shall remain nameless, and one of the things that I said was, um, one of the reasons we get in trouble is because we forget who we are.
Mhm.
And when you forget who you are, then you're easily sold anything.
Absolutely.
But when you remember who you are, then you understand that everything that you need is already on the inside of you. All you have to do is release it in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pastor of the church asked me not to teach that at his church.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I was
Whoa.
baffled by that.
Whoa. But I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what his reasons why, but let me tell you why that is not something that is accepted. That's power. That's putting power in the pew. It's easier to lead people who are powerless, voiceless, and do not know who they are. So, in my opinion, that is someone who wants to keep the power in the pulpit and not empower the pew.
But when you empower the people in the pews, then in my opinion, we can do what we're called to do in the kingdom. At least that's my thought process. But maybe
You have an educated thought process. Most people thought process start and begin and only go as far as the four walls of the church and what their pastor said.
mm, mm-mm.
They used to always say if you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in a book. Some of us act like we are allergic to books, and we need to go grab a book and get to reading your nearest book. Read it and just see if there's something in there you've been looking for.
somebody, somebody told me recently, I think I'm on my ninth book, written ninth book. And they said, well, why are you writing all these books? And so I said, well, my daddy has 66 books, probably more, and I'm trying to catch up.
That's amazing.
Africa is Rising is the name of the latest project. The single that is available is Overcomer, which is the current one. And then the one that I have had on repeat is God Don't Play About Me. And as soon as we finish this conversation, I'm going to listen to the one with Tasha Page Lockhart because I have not heard it before. I've been playing the original single, God Don't Play About Me.
God Don't Play About Me. The original is what's in radio.
Right.
But the other one we didn't release to radio. Although I seen on somebody played it.
On the radio?
Yes, but that ain't what we pushed. They just played it one time. They probably maybe Tasha was there doing an interview or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But,
Okay.
but that's not the one we have in radio. But I hope that you guys enjoy the entire project. You need to, if you listen to Tasha Bates, listen to the Rare Breed because you Rare Breed.
That's on this. Well, I'm gonna listen to the whole thing, but I had just noticed when we were talking about it that you had Tasha on there. Okay, what's coming up for the Larry Reid Live? Anything we need to be looking out for in the days ahead?
Well, the main thing that I'm thinking about right now, what's happening just under 40 days away, is Reformation here in Atlanta. And that's when everybody, and some of all of them originated as LRLs, are coming from around the world for our intensive over a few days. And that Sunday, we always are on the phone lines every Sunday, 8 a.m., 8 to 10. But we come in person from 8 to whenever we get out. And we have our service, it's regular service with praise and worship, and I preach, and it's prophecy and all those things. And that happens on July the 20th. So that is the main big thing that I'm working towards. Of course, I got some interviews and stuff that I'm going to be doing leading up to that are going to be groundbreaking. But that's the main thing I'm thinking about is Reformation in Atlanta.
All right. And speaking of LOLers, I got to make you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I told you already, my mom transitioned earlier this year. Mm-hmm. But a while back, I was having a conversation with my mom. We were laughing and talking. And I said some of the LRL vernacular in the presence of my mom. And she said, "What did you say?" And I forgot what word, but it's some word that you say that is really a cuss word, but you don't cuss. And I said, I've been listening to my friend Larry D. Reid, and that's one of his is what you call him
fake cuss word.
Well, you said it's another but we'll just say LOL language, but LOL LOL language. She said, well, maybe you should be listening to that is hilarious. Association brings on a simulation, is what she said.
Don't it? Oh my God.
But the music is available now. Hey, your book is
Mhm.
available as well.
Yes.
Now, you wrote that book after the change in consciousness or before?
Yes. It was
Okay,
after.
good. Tell me about that so they can get a copy of that.
What is it, 2025? I released that in 2023. It's called the Church Critic. And it's basically looking at the lens of Larry Reid from which I tell certain stories when it comes to fatherlessness, to women in the church, LGBTQAI plus in the church, this blackness, whiteness, the origination of Christianity and all of that kind of stuff. All of that is in that book because it's just going through the lens. And I mentioned some of the stories I've done and what lens I was using when I done the story. It's a short read, less than 100 pages, but you will enjoy it. The
So,
church.
what do you say to people that say your view on Christianity and the way you explain it is a lie? Because I've heard somebody say that it's a lady line that you
Yeah.
guys are twisting the scriptures in the Bible and all that.
Yeah, I wish people would just take what I say and research. Um, I'm probably going to be one of the most factual pastors, preachers, and gospel artists and actors and authors that you will ever meet because I have my opinions and some of my beliefs don't line up with science. Some of my beliefs don't line up with facts. And I'm okay with that. But some people, when you give them facts or science that does not line with their beliefs, they don't know nothing to do but do what cognitive dissonance says. You're wrong, it's a lie, and it's not right. So that's where that's coming from. And I accept that and I'm okay with that because I know what that means for you.
Is it okay to have a different interpretation of the scripture and we may not necessarily agree, but we okay? I don't think you're going to hell because you interpret this scripture this way, and I would hope you don't think I'm going to hell because I interpret it in a different way. Is God, does God allow that type of evolvement or consciousness
Okay.
today?
Yes, I think that's how we all should be thinking right now. They're different. We all should think that there are different types of Christians. People who still believe that Jesus is God, God is Jesus, and they serve and follow the Lord. But all that other stuff y'all believe, they don't believe like you. So I think that's how we should see each other so that we can have some form of community in Christian faith. Because there are people that tell me I'm not a Christian because I embrace astrology, different African spiritual systems, some hoodoo, uh, what else? Numerology. Because I embrace all of that, that's wrapped and tied up in that deep, deep connection to Africa and blackness. Because I'm all of that, I'm not really a Christian. That we need to get rid of that. There are different types and kinds of Christians.
And would you agree that we're literally all on our own spiritual path? We all are at different states of spiritual consciousness, and it's okay. As I was telling somebody the other day, and let me just say thank you for the things that you guys did for Bishop Carlton Pearson before he transitioned. Um, but of course, I don't even have to bring up all of the things that were said about Bishop Carlton Pearson. But I was telling somebody the other day, y'all better hope that some of the stuff that Bishop Carlton Pearson said is right, because if not, you in trouble.
Yeah, they ain't living that. What they're preaching and teaching, they ain't even living it. They falling short of that glory every darn day. They better hope it's the truth.
Yeah. But
Mm.
anyway, this was. Let me just say thank you, because I know everybody's time is short these days. Everybody's busy, and I want to thank you for taking time to have this conversation with me today. And
And you done so well by the shirt. I gave you that shirt years ago.
yes, and it's in mint condition, by the way.
It looks good.
I found a way, because these types of shirt, if you wash them a certain way, you'll mess it up. But I have been very careful not to mess this shirt
And
up.
it's good to see you, Larry.
Listen, I am glad to be seen. I am glad to be seen. You know the I was getting ready to say the close the door guy, but Marvin Sapp has a song that says never would have made it. I
Yeah.
kind of felt like that this year, but God has been faithful.
What is your sign?
I am a Capricorn.
Oh my God, you are such a Capricorn. But you obsess over little tiny things, and you really should not. And you really shouldn't hold yourself to these unrealistic standards.
Why you in my business so live on camera?
I'm just saying because
No,
you're Capricorn, so that's just prophetic science. It's not really me being prophetic, but it's about the prophetic science. Now, if I were being prophetic, I would say this to you. I would say that right now where you are in your life, you're putting the pieces back together, because I see where some time ago, a little less than a year, where you broke and pieces just fell wherever they fell. And now you're putting the pieces back together, not just for you, but also those that are around you and those that watch you, because you're a pillar of strength in your community, and people look for you and to you for strength, not knowing that you have given all that you had. But I also see where in about 8 months, you're going to be hit with a new reality. And this is going to be the reality that finally gets you to move, because the area that you are in, the Spirit says, is vomiting you up. Now that is the word of the Lord.
Okay. And I'm gonna leave this on here on this video. So
this is the broadcast.
I'm gonna leave it on there so we go back and say, he did say that on this day at this time. But seriously though, like for real though, I appreciate you for taking time to have this conversation with me today. And I just appreciate the shift in consciousness, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Okay. And thank you for that. And it was a good to receive your test. Always liked you, always loved you, and always will, man.
Bless you, man. All right. For more conversations just like this, go to LarryWRobinson.com, or Larry, where do they need to go?
LarryReidLive.com.
I love it. Bless you, man.
All right.
Stay tuned for the Larry W. Robinson Show.
Celebrated media personality Larry W. Robinson presents Gospel Updates. Gospel Updates is the who, what, when, why, and where in the gospel music industry. Gospel Updates is a monthly magazine, weekly newsletter, video webcast, as well as a podcast. Gospel Updates has over 25 years of featuring people in the gospel music community. Gospel Updates magazine and the new Gospel Updates weekly newsletter document those who are continuing to help shape and write new chapters of this ever-evolving story of gospel. Go to www.gospelupdates.com. That's www.gospelupdates.com to get the latest issues. If you want to be featured, call or text 337-214-4046 or email gospelupdates@gmail.com for rates and details. Gospel Updates, featuring people in the gospel community for over 25 years.
You're listening to The Larry W. Robinson Show.
Filled with talk and inspirations, spotlighting gospel sensation. Motivation and inspiration for your eternal destination.